Hello and welcome back to the Book Marketing Tips and Author Success Podcast. My name is Penny Sansevieri and I am here with my co-host, my awesome co-host, Amy Cornell. Amy, it's good to chat with you again.
Yes, thanks so much.
Not like we don't chat all the time anyway, but not
I
all
know,
the
but
time.
I feel like this is the ultra fun version of what we get to talk about.
Right, exactly. Except how surprised are you that we're still talking about book marketing during a pandemic?
I know. It's like, wow, we talked about it. We were looking at our stats, and I want to say thank you to everybody that's been listening and downloading and subscribing and rating and reviewing. It's amazing. And we shamelessly look at our stats and our downloads to try, to just keep up with how much everybody's listening. And we noticed that our first pandemic show was really popular.
Yeah.
And then, and then you suggested it, and then we both kind of got a laugh / cried about the fact that we could do another one.
I know. Well, and part of it is that, so I am, and those of you who know me well know this, I am truly the optimist. So we did the first book marketing during a pandemic, and I was like, well, we're just going to need one. That'll be all, and we'll be good to go. And then by June, everything will be great. And then, here we are now. It's like July.
Mm-hmm.
And as every month starts, I always look and think, okay, what sort of fresh hell awaits me now? But what's and it's not funny, like we get it. It's a very serious business. But at the same time, I don't think we're the only ones that thought that this would be over. Or, I have posted some stuff to my Facebook page where I've said, I can't believe that I actually waited up until midnight for this mess, like, and shouted, Happy New Year, woo! Like, like, oh, wow. And here we are. But I will say that one of the really, there's always a bright side to everything. And, for some of us, it's being able to stay home and work from home and learn how to work from home, which has been great. We've always done that. So that hasn't actually been new. Many of you have your dogs as coworkers, which I think is super great. We have our dogs as production staff, right? As we know, executive producer Bernie, and in charge of snacks Cosmo. And what's Frankie's job again?
She's our sound engineer, because she's the one that's most likely to bark and make us look unprofessional. So I just figured that would make the most sense. Like, let's just own that right up front. So if you're barking, that would be Frankie. She's in charge of sound. You can at her on Twitter and be mad about it.
Right. That's hilarious. Yes, if the sound ever sounds funky, just blame Frankie.
Yes, exactly.
Some of you are posting pictures about your dogs as your coworkers, which I think is hilarious. Or your cats or your goldfish or whatever sort of pet that you have at home. But many of you have been posting about your book marketing ideas and how you are staying efficient and effective and selling books. And I was walking Cosmo, director of snacks, in our upcoming nationwide tour the other day, and I ran into somebody who works for a boutique publishing house. She's a neighbor. And she said to me, we've been selling books like crazy. And she said, but we've been very actively discounting ebooks, right? So taking advantage of the ebook discounts. And then I read, and literally I came home and I was reading some of the publishing news, and there was an article in a major publishing magazine that said publishers say that book sales have declined by, 12% or something. And what I realized based on that conversation is that if you don't have an effective ebook strategy and online strategy, you're probably thinking, yeah, my ebook sales have tanked as well. Because Amy, you and I have talked about this. One of the things that we're seeing is that authors who really are, rocking it online, who have, ebook versions of their books, which I know is most authors, but not all, surprisingly, those folks are doing really well.
Yes. And that was a very good distinction that you made, that like, okay, so a lot of authors have them, but they don't capitalize on the fact that ebooks can be marketed very differently than print books.
For sure.
The opportunities there. So it's one thing to be like, no, I have both. Why am I not selling more? It's like, no, it's really the authors that key into what makes ebook marketing unique that are actually seeing the additional sales and that, are doing really well.
Well, and the other thing too is that we always talk about escapism being at an all-time high, but also a lot of folks who are home more than they used to be, who don't have that, however long that commute is, that's taken away from their being at home time. They're learning, they're learning new things, right? I mean, we see a lot of, I don't know, I don't really understand the banana bread trend. Like I, I see that a lot. Amy is so much smarter than she probably knows what the trend is about and where it came from. I just keep seeing people making banana bread.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I did not pick up on that, but I am also a self-proclaimed terrible baker, so this would definitely not be something I would be participating in. I would totally eat it though. So
right. Just so you know, if you mail us baked goods, we will
right.
absolutely eat them.
Happy to be a guinea pig for
right.
me.
But I was standing behind somebody at Starbucks the other day, and of course, behind is a relative term now because you're not really behind anybody. I really would like to keep the 6 feet apart thing long after this is over. Like, I'm actually good with that. I like my personal space when I'm grocery shopping. Like, I think that's ideal. But anyway, so I was standing behind somebody, and she was telling. She and her mom, I guess they were just talking about all this banana bread they were going to make, and she's like, "Yeah, and you can freeze the bananas." And I was like, a whole education. I had no idea. So a lot of people are learning new things. So they're gardening more, they're baking, they're getting into home repairs or doing different things. So there's probably no chance that anybody listening has a book that somebody isn't interested in general, but also in particular now, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So that's the other thing too, is just realizing that you are potentially, you're feeding a need, and how are you going to get out there more? And we do a lot of, I wanted you, Amy, to talk a little bit more about discounted ebook promotions, because I think people often misunderstand them and think, whoa, I have to give my book away for free or for 99 cents. But
right. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because you run a lot of our authors' ebook promotions here.
Yeah, and I will say, and this was in, I've read this in multiple places, but it was really eye-opening, and I've shared it with a lot of our clients too, that, and then authors that come our way to work with us that may have a higher priced ebook. But the stat was that the majority of ebooks sold on Amazon, and this was within the last couple of years, so it's relatively new in regards to, how quickly we can pull stats on these kind of things. But the majority of books sold on ebooks sold on Amazon are at the $3.99 price point, and then at the $2.99 price point. So it's really a lot of authors, I think they're encouraged by that, because just as you said, Penny, I think a lot of them automatically assume that they have to start giving their book away for free or 99 cents. And I totally get it. After all the time and effort that you put into getting it out there, that can kind of seem like a little, it's like, ooh, just, rub a little salt in the wound there. But yeah, no, $2.99 is actually what we have started suggesting to our clients, because it's a great price point in regards to that impulse buy factor, that psychological factor of that, somebody can easily spend $2.99 for the most part, and they don't overthink it, which actually really works in your favor.
Right.
And then, there is a psychology about, if you are brand new and certainly don't have a huge platform behind you, there is something about going too low that could make a potential buyer a little wary. Now, if you have a big platform and you have a lot going for you online, then I think that kind of tells people like, ooh, this is actually a really good deal. I need to move on this. But I will say, like, if you're relatively new on the scene, just having a super cheap, inexpensive ebook, wouldn't you think, Penny, there's kind of something that could go backwards for you in that regard also?
Can I just tell you, I'm sitting here, I realize we can't see each other, but I'm sitting here like nodding. I'm so over the 99 cent. I mean, I think it's okay. Like, if you want to run an older ebook for free, one that's maybe 4 or 5 years old, if you want to run that promo for free, you want to drop it to 99 cents. But man, I mean, we all have, I know most people, myself included, have digital fatigue. So there's only so many 99 cent ebooks that you can cram into an ebook reader and still, it's like the memes on my iPhone, right? I mean, I I don't want to admit in public, and certainly not sober, how many memes I have on my iPhone, but I probably have as many books on my e-reader, right? So I just think the time for 99-cent books has passed. But certainly, Amy, like you mentioned, a dollar discount or a couple of dollars discount or $2.99, $3.99, whatever, that's a really cool sweet spot for somebody saying, hey, I'm willing to take a chance on this $3 book by an author that I've never experienced before.
Exactly. And the main difference is not just, especially if it's just $1 or so, that's totally great, but you need to support the fact that you have a discount going. So you really need to get the word out there. You need to support the fact, okay, so you're going to discount your book for a few days. You have to support that by getting the word out there. So make a big deal that your book is $1 off. I mean, that's, use that, put it on social, put it on your website, send it out to your email list, send out a special newsletter announcement a little in advance, letting them know, ask them to share it. I realize a lot of times I think, we say these things, Penny, and people are thinking like, well, everybody on my newsletter already bought my book. What's the point of that? But there's no reason you can't ask them to share that. Forward this to someone in your network, forward it to a friend. If you've enjoyed the book, please help me get the word out. Like, you know what I mean? Take that next step. Don't assume people know what you want them to do, with the content you're sending them.
Right,
You have to be very clear. So there's nothing wrong with emailing your email list and saying like, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support. Could you guys help me out? I'm going to have a discount running this weekend. If you forward this email to just one friend, you'd be helping me out so much. You have to be really direct about what you want, but that kind of support that you put behind your discount is what will drive traffic to your page and drive those download numbers.
Well, and we're going to talk about the BOGO, the buy one, get one, in a minute, and some of the special offers that you ran for Truckload. But one of the things that I want to mention too is that this is, and you hit on something, so social media was further down on the talking points list for today, but let's just address it now, because one of the things that I hear from authors all the time, and I know you do because you run a lot of our, or all of our social media campaigns, and certainly you run our social media, is you hear authors saying, well, I think I've exhausted my social media. Like you said, my newsletter people, I've exhausted them. I've exhausted my social media people. And so that to me is an author really thinking small. And one of the things that I see that really motivated including this as a discussion point for this particular talk is I see authors, you really have to tell people what you want them to do, right? And I see authors that are actually highlighting the elements of their book. So maybe it's escapism. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to bake bread. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to make, banana bread, like, all these crazy recipes that these women ahead of me in line were talking about. Maybe you want to learn how to be a gardener. Maybe, whatever that is, whatever it is, I see these images of the books with some kind of a highlight, like, lots of stay-at-home time. Maybe now's a really good opportunity to learn how to XYZ, whatever that is. So you really have to tell people, because most of the time we're scrolling through Instagram or we're scrolling through Facebook. As consumers, we aren't making the leap. You have to make that leap for us. So you have to really get out there and say, and maybe your book is just escapism. Maybe it's a feel-good holiday romance, and we're in July and we're running this podcast in July. And maybe, and I've seen a lot of also memes about people that are like, oh my gosh, is it Christmas yet? Because I'm so ready for this year to be over. Those are the kinds of things that you need to, branding on the images and the content that you're sharing. So you make that connection for people.
That's very true. Make it current, make the connection. Don't make them think too hard. Nobody wants to do that when they're shopping. Come on. We had an author come to us with a great book. It's been out for a little bit though. And it's about green industries. And they were very clear and in their email that I got about how relevant this will be, because they really feel very strongly that as we come out of this and everything going on with the economy and things like that, just in general, a lot of companies are going to put a focus on, green innovation and things like that. And I thought, this is brilliant, but they didn't have any of that represented, the timeliness factor on their social, on their website, things like that. And so that's another important aspect of, marketing during the pandemic. Make sure that you are taking that next step to constantly remind people why what you have to say is current or, you know, like you said, you have a little extra free time. It's still summer break. Like, even if you're doing a staycation, you still need that vacation read, you know, like make the connections for them.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely, make the connections, and, using hashtags and things like that when you're sharing these posts will help you to get to get outside of that reach of your initial audience. But one of the other things that I've had, I will tell you that it's mid-July right now, and late July, whatever. And I've done more events this year virtually than I normally do in an entire year. So I've both, because my speaking events all moved virtually, all moved online, but also because I've been asked by various groups, are like, well, now all of our meetings are, like, I got asked last week for a group in South Africa, which I'm super excited about. I have a class this Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. A little less excited about that because of the hour, and I have to be on video, no pressure, but it's fun, right? I mean, and one of the things that somebody asked me to be on another event, I want to say it was a Florida event, and she said, one of the really big bonuses that has come out of this is that I'm able, because everything has moved online, they don't feel the pressure to get speakers that are local. They've been able to get all kinds of people to their events using Zoom or whatever it is that they're, whatever portal that they're using. So the reason that I mention this is because libraries are doing the same thing. So there's a library, I'm in Southern California, there's a library in Anaheim, and I emailed her last week, and I complimented her because she's been sending me, I guess I'm on her notification list. She's been sending me all of these library events that they're doing. They're doing virtual book signings, they're doing book talks, they're doing panel discussions. She has a seminar coming up this Saturday about women and bone density. So they're doing all kinds of really fun things virtually, which I thought was so smart. So I wrote her and I said, is this just unique to your library? And she said, no, libraries across the country are doing this. So if your library is still closed, and it varies, I realize, like California, basically nothing's open. I mean, I shouldn't say that. A lot of stuff is open, not everything, but a lot of stuff is open right now, thank goodness. But, if you're still in a situation where your library isn't open necessarily to foot traffic, contact them and say, what are your virtual events looking like? So you can do, you can do a lot of virtual events that way. Now, obviously, they're not going to pay you, but at the same time, it's exposure. And if you feel like you've completely tired out your existing audience and you need to reach new people, that's a great thing to do. Local bookstores, same thing. I've had a couple of people tell me that they've been doing virtual events for local bookstores. Almost every conference has now moved virtually. So if there was a conference that you really wanted to speak at, if there was something that you really wanted to do, ask them if they're doing virtual. I just emailed, I did a really, really fun event last year in Georgia. It was really, I know I'm preaching to the choir because what I'm about to say. It was so hot and humid, like you couldn't leave the hotel, but the event was fabulous. Like the event was so fun. So I emailed the gal last week and I said, hey, listen, I'm up for doing anything virtually. Let me know. It doesn't even have to be, because, a lot of these conferences are scrambling to figure out, what they're going to do. All they can say is no, right? So get out there and start doing some events. We did, speaking of book marketing during a pandemic, we did that video, we did that webinar with all of the other authors about what to do, offering some ideas about what to do during a pandemic. And that was, we had like 450 people that signed up for that.
I know, webinar. It was fabulous.
Yeah. So you could even hook up with, connect with other authors that and say, maybe they want to do something. Maybe they want to do something locally. And you can certainly sell books virtually. And I wanted Amy to take this one because she ran some fabulous promos for how to sell books by the truckload in September when it was releasing. So talk a little bit about what kind of promos that an author might do for events. And we're going to talk a little bit about signing books virtually, which is a different kind of a thing, but talk about some of those events that we might do.
Yeah, the BOGO is, The BOGO is great because not only does it sell books, but it also expands your reach. So BOGO typically is, it, traditionally is like a buy one, get one, but we prefer a buy one, give one because it's a great way to get your book introduced to new people.
Yeah.
So essentially what you do is you put the message out there that if when someone buys your book, you know, you just do a confirmation. It's really actually quite simple. We just ask them to forward the receipt from Amazon to us just so we have some sort of purchase confirmation. And along with that, we ask them to give us the name and email address of someone that we can gift a digital copy to. It's really straightforward, but it works amazingly well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really one of those things that you would think like, oh, why haven't I done this yet? Because it really is such a great way to spread the word. Everybody loves a little bonus offer. We always invite people to include a little note if they'd like to, as we share it. But it is a really great way to get introduced to other people, in your network. And if you haven't released a book in a while, Penny, I would still say that there's potential for this to work for a slightly older book too, just as a way to drum up a little more exposure. So even if your book was released 6 months ago, you could always give it a shot and just kind of put it out there that, hey, if you bought my book and you'd like me to gift it, a copy to a friend, something like that, like you can still kind of revive that. Like maybe not everybody kept their, Amazon receipt, but those kind of things are pretty easy to find if somebody cares enough.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like just, if you just missed your release, then you can't do this anymore. But it's a great way to prep for a new release for sure. But you can also work ways to do this with an older book. And the takeaway with that is just think about the logistics of it and just be very clear and concise about the process that you'd like them to follow, because you don't want them questioning it at all, but it's really a very easy promo to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very easy promo. We got a lot of I will say we got a lot of bounce out of this. And to your point about running this later, like if you're listening to this, you think, oh my gosh, I ran this, I did a big book sale like a month ago or 3 months ago or whatever. Amazon, you may not be able to print out the actual receipt, but especially if the book was sold on Amazon, which it very likely was, Amazon has those. Somebody can take just a screen grab
Mm-hmm.
of their receipt and forward it over to you. So
Exactly. Or you could do it for a review. You know what I mean? Hey, if you can leave me a review,
yeah,
I will gift a book to a friend of yours or someone in your network. Like so always think about finding that balance between you're getting something for it, but they're also getting something really great as well. And typically that sweet spot is when you get the most engagement for promos.
yeah. But that, the review idea is really great because I think that, a nudge to your mailing list saying, hey, if you've reviewed my book, great. If you haven't reviewed it yet, we're running this, promo. And I mean, to open it up to everybody, I mean, if they're on the mailing list and they say, well, I reviewed the book, can I participate in this? I would just open it up to them and say, yeah, sure. Send a copy of the book to a friend. Because the other piece of it is that, you really want those readers on your mailing list or social media, wherever you're spending your time, you want them to connect you with other readers because that's how you start to build a bigger, more tangible footprint, if that's what your goal is, which it should be everybody's goal.
Right. And wouldn't you say, Penny, that once you break that kind of, that initial, okay, now they're engaging with you. Maybe this person has been on your mailing list for a year and you haven't heard from them. They don't comment on any of your stuff. But once you kind of get past that first and so say they engage with you for this BOGO promo, they're going to be so much more likely to engage with you again in the future.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. Because I have people who did the BOGO that we ran and who are still writing me saying, oh, my friend really liked the book, etc. So it feels like it's that fun, virtual connection. And I will say that if you're doing these virtual events, so typically when we do virtual events, we try to encourage letting us set it up, because then Amy sets up the leads pages for the event and we're able to capture people's email addresses so we can kind of tackle them after the fact and say, hey, here's a special offer as a part of this book promo. But if they're not, if they say, well, no, we're setting up the event and, think think of a reason that you can get folks to contact you. So maybe having a handout for the event, and then having the special offer. And Amy, we've done that before too, having the special offer on the handout, so folks will get in touch with you that way.
Yes, I love that. It's, having a takeaway of some sort. And I think that's only fair. It's called bringing something unique to the table, and you should have ideas when you go approach events in organizations. If you want to get involved, have something that sets you apart. So having that extra content, those great freebies, the offers, things like that, it really makes you stand out. And the people that are running these events and dealing with 8 million things, if you say like, but I have this that you can also offer your attendees, that will make their ears perk up for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, again, these events that you may not have had access to previously, this is a great way to build your platform. So, don't let this pandemic feel like it's an excuse to kind of sit back and wait till all this is over, because the authors that are really kicking it right now they are out there and they are marketing. They're also producing video. So video is something that I need to do more of. I know I need to do more video, but video is, you can go onto your phone and I have this really fun app, and I don't know if it's on every brand of phone, but I have it on my iPhone. It's called Clips. And I can look like I'm in my laboratory. I have a couple of those Amazon video shorts up. I love doing video. You can do video on, Instagram. We take all of our podcasts and we put them as videos on YouTube, certainly. But video is this is a really good opportunity, since we are having less face time with people, to create something that introduces you or reintroduces you to your audience too.
Yes, I love that so much. I think it sounds always, and this is me as the person who doesn't have to create video, saying, but it's true though. A lot of authors that I do follow on social, I will say, Penny, that do video, it's very casual. Like, no, they're not sitting in front of their load of laundry behind them, but so many of them are just being themselves. They don't have a full face of makeup. They're just sitting at their desk, and they take a moment to give everybody an update on what they're doing and what's going on in their life. Or I see some of them that are like, I'm walking my dog out in the park today. I just had to get away from my desk. And it's so endearing and it's so personal, and you feel involved in their life and a part of their brand and in their like inner circle. And it's such a cool way to connect with people. But I would just encourage anybody listening that heard video and immediately wanted to, press pause and like throw their phone to not overthink it. Is that you really don't have to overthink the production value of getting involved in video. And I think if you do just a couple casual ones and post it to social, you'll see, and you'll get some positive feedback. You'll see it really isn't as scary or over involved as video used to be totally honest.
Well, and I'll just tell everybody who's listening, Amy really said that for me, because I always overthink my video. Like Amy will say, because as I mentioned, she manages all of our socials. She'll say, we really need a video for XYZ. I'm like, Amy, it's not makeup day. We gotta wait for makeup day, because I really don't want to get on camera with no makeup on. But the problem is that our overthinking things like video or creative things that we can do prevents us from taking action. And I know it certainly prevents me from taking action, because I have like 55 steps that I have to do before I get on video.
That is so funny. But once you do it, Penny, if you have like, which I know you do, you're very good at keeping your to-do list, but I would encourage everybody listening to start a little list of ideas for video, and then just commit the next time you do feel video ready, to grab that list and knock out one of those. Again, you don't have to be somewhere special, and you don't have to have a fancy setup or anything like that. You really just need your phone. And so if you commit to like, okay, I know that on Thursday I need to actually like get presentable for other reasons. And while I'm in that, mode, I'm going to also do a quick, 30-second video for my followers on Instagram.
Right. Right, right, exactly. No, I think it's a great idea. And Amy, you know what? We should do a video about promo about the
No.
podcast.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I finally have her roped in to do video.
I know. And we
This
could do
is
a quick video to introduce the production team. That would be cute.
that would be hilarious. Bernie, I will tell you that both of Amy's dogs, Bernie and Frankie, they are extremely photogenic. Not that Cosmo is just, he's impossibly cute, but he's a little bit more challenging.
You really have to fit it into his schedule. It gets hard.
He has a very busy schedule, right? We actually have to, we absolutely have to fit it in. So Amy, take us home with Goodreads groups. I know you love Goodreads, and actually the Goodreads podcast was also one of our highest rated podcasts. Once again, thanks again so much for listening. So take us home with Goodreads groups. What can folks do to be more accessible, I guess?
Yes, good. This is a great time because, again, not to keep harping on the fact that, oh, you guys have all this free time, because as somebody that is at home with 2 kiddos and working and things like that, like I get it, like the concept of like all this free time is still a little lost on some of us. But you still, as you mentioned, Penny, I thought that was so perfect. The commute time, little things like that used to eat into our schedules. A lot of people are even having things delivered now that they used to go out for. So there's that time as well. But yeah, dedicate some of it to getting involved on Goodreads groups, and specifically with the goal of being a fan and a participant in your genre or for your topic. Don't jump into Goodreads thinking like, okay, how many different ways can I tell people I have a book? Because Goodreads is already so book centric. That's the whole reason everybody is there.
Yeah.
And you have an author page. So it's no secret that you have a book. If you're on there as an author with an author page, they know you have a book. So focus more on being a fan of your genre, which is actually kind of a nice way to step back from the just direct marketing, that you get stressed about, which I understand. Like, being on Goodreads as a fan, it serves both purposes. You get a step back from the hardcore marketing part of it and the direct marketing and the sales part of it. And you're really just getting that exposure among other readers that are fans of your topic or genre. So it's a lot more relaxed, but you're still getting really quality impressions, because if you're participating and you are that person that's showing up and, adding to discussions and things like that, you are going to get click-throughs. People are going to start realizing that you're an author, that you just released another book or whatnot. So it really is very organic, but it's such a focused audience. It's really, authors that aren't using Goodreads. It's such a big yet easy and direct missed opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, that one of the things, and that this actually sparked an idea for video, is, talk about what you're reading, right? So I completely agree with Amy. You've got to be a fan of your genre. And even outside of precedented times, right? Or even during, right? Even during, when our lives go back to being normal, which hopefully will happen sometime soon. Talk about what you're reading. Talk about what's on your nightstand. Talk about what are you currently sort of obsessed with? Become, approach it from a more kind of human perspective, as opposed to I'm trying to market my book. And that's one thing that I will say on my personal Facebook page, which I shouldn't call it a personal Facebook page because I don't use it for anything personal, really, except to share pictures of Cosmo. But I'm pretty human on that page. Like, I'm pretty much not book marketing Penny, but I'm just me, right? And I think people really like that. Like, I think that regardless of the platform that you're on, whether you're doing video or whether you're on Goodreads, everybody's pushing the same stone uphill right now. And we're all dealing with it in different ways. And I think showing that side of you is also a great way to build your fan base.
Yes, 100%.
So I want to thank you so much for being on the show that we swore we wouldn't have to do, because the first one that we did was great and we did the webinar and it was awesome, and yet here we are still talking about it. But I think that, but I think that, and something I think about too is that fear is hard to unlearn. So even as states really open up and libraries open up and bookstores open up, and that's great. I think you're still going to see a lot of people who enjoy cocooning at home. And
Yeah.
I don't know if these virtual techniques are really ever going to go away. I think as we get into the end of the year and next year, I think you're going to see that they really become part of who we are. Um, I'm looking forward to going to my next in-person writers conference. I got to tell you, frankly, I love just meeting people in person, but the virtual is pretty cool. And I don't think that it's ever going to go away.
Right. That's a very good point. I love that. I think that there is a happy medium for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a happy medium. So I want to thank you all for listening to this very special episode. Um, we are putting this up. We are going to be running this on July 23rd. So if you're listening to this on July 23rd, that's what we're running it. Next week on July 30th, we are doing the episode on blogging. So we kind of took the place of that this week, but tune in next week. We're going to have that post up. And I want to thank you all so much for listening. We love reviews. We love downloads. I check those. It's kind of ridiculous. And again, not something that I want to admit sober, but we love reviews. So please post a review if you liked it, if you didn't like it. Let us know how we can improve. We get ideas. We love ideas. So feel free to send those our way. How to contact us is in the show notes. Amy, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yes, this was great. This was such a great topic. I mean, I'm sad, like you said, that we had to do it again, but it really pushes the creativity, you know?
Yeah, it pushes the creativity. And let us know also, because we're going to be putting up a blog post on it this week too. Let us know what you're doing and how your marketing has changed during a pandemic. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Penny Sansebury with my awesome co-host, Amy Cornell, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.